Woohoo! And it's Tuesday, and once again, we're doing another LinkedIn Live. And today I have another special guest in this house, and that is, well, in the LinkedIn Live house, and that is Deanna Russo. And we met on Clubhouse, and we're now meeting for the first time, but we've chatted before. So this is the excitement of already knowing people through video and stuff on LinkedIn. So it's awesome, and chatting in the DMs and the comments and everything else. So anyways, Deanna, welcome. Before we get stuck in with our topic today, can you just tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then we'll jump right in.
Absolutely. And Gillian, even though this is the official first face-to-face, I feel like I already know you. So I feel like I'm with an old friend. So I thank you so much for inviting me. It was like the best part of my day was getting the invitation from you. So I'm like, yay. So it was a no-brainer. But a little bit about me. First of all, I apologize if my voice sounds really weird because I am probably in day 5 of a head cold, and my kids get it, of course, and then my husband gets it, and everybody, it kind of rolls off and everybody's good, and Deanna gets it and it lasts forever. So yeah, so anyhow, but I was just mentioning before we went live that I'm happy that this is only 30 minutes because 30 minutes I can do.
Yay, yay, yay.
A little bit of background on me. I have been on LinkedIn since 2008, but it wasn't until 2018 where I'm like, ding, 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 let's go to LinkedIn, because I was actually in a sales role. And that sales role wanted me to use LinkedIn as the primary way to bring in new business. And so I thought, well, I have this profile and I already know some other social media outlets. So let's just spend more time and see what it's all about. But what they wanted me to do and what I ended up doing were two different things, because I went from salesy and spammy and I don't know you, come buy from me, to hello, I'm Deanna Russo, and I don't care if you buy from me, but you're going to get to know me and you're going to get to like me, maybe, and you're going to get to trust me, because social goes above and beyond someone that is knocking on your door like a vacuum cleaner salesperson trying to sell you. I cannot tell you the amount of people who are turned off from LinkedIn because they get those direct messages from people that they don't know. And in more cases than not, those are robots. So I started creating content on Halloween in 2018. And about a year or so later, when I decided that that company and I would part ways, I looked for my next opportunity, and I had all of these people that I had been networking with, both in person and on LinkedIn, telling me this might be your calling. This might be what you need to do. And so next thing you know, I'm going to get the ball rolling and start my business. And then there's a pandemic. And yeah, and everyone is all of a sudden stuck in their house. And then they're like, there's this thing I'm on called LinkedIn. What do I do with it? What do I do? I mean, like, isn't it like an online resume? So I guess my timing ended up being pretty good, because my business started up right at the start of this whole thing. And next thing you know, I'm helping people find visibility and helping people stand out, just like I was able to stand out. So there you go.
Perfect. Perfect. And that is, what an awesome segue. We couldn't have scripted that better. Really, really, really. So that is our topic today, standing out from the crowd. And in the beginning, like you said, the crowd was spammy, jumping in your DMs with their just, buy my stuff and you don't know me, but I don't care, type of thing. And you're right. It's like, and speaking of robots, you said that like a lot of those are robots. I loved your newsletter where you kind of did the analogy of iRobot with Will Smith, and just the whole analogy of like all those robots, but then the one who's a little bit different, which is, another segue to your purple squirrel. And we talked about that a little bit before we came on today to talk about the purple squirrel, because no matter what, if they forget your name, they're going to remember that purple squirrel because it's a magnet. It attracts people. It's memorable. So let's talk a little bit about that, because the purple squirrel, it immediately stands out from everyone else, Deanna. So tell us what it is and how you even came up with the whole purple squirrel thing.
Sure. So my sales job was working on the recruiting side of a small IT startup. And I was having a conversation with a colleague, and we were talking about a role that one of us were working on. And he said, just in conversation, he said, "Oh, that's a purple squirrel." And I'm like, "Oh, wait, what is a purple squirrel?" And he's like, "You've never heard of a purple squirrel before?" And I'm like, no, back up. Let's have a conversation and talk about this. So it's basically a niche role, NICHE. It's like a unique type, like you could say that you're a website developer, but if you're a Java web developer, then you are very specialized. So it's about a specialty. And so what I did was, after that conversation, I did a video on what is a purple squirrel. And oh my goodness, Gillian, even in 2019, that just like blew up. And so next thing you know, I'm going to my regular networking meetings, and they start calling me the purple squirrel magnet. Like, I'll walk in the room and they're like, "There's the purple squirrel magnet." And I'm like, oh my gosh, all I did was a video. So it's taken on a life of its own since then. And even though I'm not working in recruiting, I'm like, I still need to keep it because it's something that it's unique. It's unique to me. And honestly, if you look at it and you think about the definition of it, it's a specialty. And it's about standing out among everybody else. Because if you're walking down the street, for example, and you see a squirrel, maybe you don't think twice about it. But if you saw a purple squirrel, you'd stop. You would stop and look. So that's the goal on LinkedIn, is to get people to stop and to pay attention and stop the scroll and pay more attention to what you're doing. So that's the ultimate goal.
I love it. I love it. So in essence, really, all of us are trying to be purple squirrels. We're trying to be that. What's that little bit that's different about you than everyone else? And that makes sense whether you're looking for a job, you're a job seeker, or if you're running your own business, because ideally we buy from people. And we want to work with people. And that, to me, is what LinkedIn's about. It's those people to people connections. And if you can be the purple squirrel in the room, woo, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that you're also, sort of part of your brand is this triangle strategy. You have a triangle strategy. Is that something that you'd be willing to just kind of give us a quick overview of?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're sitting in geometry class, just flash back to, for me, it was 10th grade. And now my daughter's actually learning more than I ever learned in 6th grade. And you're thinking about how a triangle works. You can't have one piece without the other two. They're all connected. And so when I think about LinkedIn, you can't have a profile without having conversations and without having that content. It's really that triangle, and one piece is directly connected to all of them. We'll start with the profile. You could have a really awesome profile that showcases everything that you're about. But if you're not visible to other people on this platform of 830 million people, then that profile does a lot of good, but I don't know how many people are going to see it.
Yep.
So that's why the profile is connected to both the engagement and the content piece. As a job seeker, for example, your profile is your selling card. It is your billboard along the side of the road. But if you're not having conversations with potential recruiters, with potential hiring managers, with people in the industry that you're looking to be in, then that profile is just sitting there and it's not doing anybody any good. And then that content piece, honestly, Gillian, you and I are among the 3%. It's still, for a long time, it's been 3%. That number hasn't changed much. 830 million people. And think of the 3%, itty bitty amount that are actually creating content. It's so tiny. So, and it's original content. You and I are not posting press releases. We're not posting job announcements. It's nothing that's formal or prepared. It is us speaking and us using our words. And people are on LinkedIn to hear stories. They're on there to get to know people. And so that's why those three pieces are really connected. You're going to showcase yourself. You're going to have those conversations and shake hands in a networking meeting that is LinkedIn. I mean, for 830 million people. And then you're going to showcase what you're all about in that content piece.
I love it. I love it. And you can kind of see, it's almost like when you're juggling, all three balls have to be in motion. Like you don't just like bang out the content, but like you go to your profile and it's like your picture from 1980, and it's like, and you just have like, the one position that you've ever done. It's like, well, then that's a disconnect. They're all a disconnect if they're not. You got to have those balls constantly up in the air. And like, I know even with myself the other day, all of a sudden I realized I had the wrong email address on my profile. It was my old one. So it's kind of never set it and forget it. It's constantly evolving. And I think people are like, I don't want to do this profile. It's too much. And they just copy from their resume, which is like totally wrong. And then they leave it. And it's just like, okay, you've never changed your picture. You've never updated what you've done. I don't know anything about you. There's no conversation starters, because you talk about that in your content of put things on your profile that will elicit a conversation. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you are, correct?
Right. Honestly, you could be the proudest mom on earth, but on LinkedIn, the thing is, you can showcase that in addition to leading with the professional. So say what you do for a living and say the magic that you make it work. And then you can say proud mom of 3. So it's about the balance. You could go to wineries on the weekends, for example, and you could really have that could be your thing, and you can mention that in your about section, and you'd be surprised at the people that pick up on little things when you plant the seeds. So there could be multiple seeds. And we talked about that before we started the live. You don't just have to be known for one thing. You could be known for multiple things. And then something is going to ring the bell in someone, and they're going to remember you when the time is right.
Right. I love it. So I see we have a couple of comments. So let me pop those on the screen. So we have Jeff Young joining us. Look out, folks. It's the purple squirrel magnet, the video easy peasy queen on the same screen. Epic. Namaste.
Epic.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff
Niraj.
is one of the best. I have to tell you, Gillian, I'm going to give him a shout out. He is one of the best for GIFs and for graphics. I swear, I don't know where he comes up with them in the quickest time, but he is all about putting those graphics out there. So I have to give him a shout out.
Yeah. And he's got systems. Like that's the one thing I can tell you about Jeff. He is organized with his systems and bookmarks, and he's a bit of a geek too. So he's not only sort of like very, very helpful and knowledgeable about everything to do with LinkedIn, but he is quite techie and between him and Kevin Turner, sometimes we get into conversations and they lose me. They're so geeky, but it's good geeky. It's good geeky.
It is.
Okay.
It's fun.
It's very fun. It's fun. So we have Niraj, Jeff Young in the house. Always love to see you. Can't wait to hear this amazing talk from Gillian and Deanna. We just love Niraj. Niraj, hello. We have just always.
We were just exchanging direct messages about our concert plans this summer. How we're both looking forward to some really good concerts. So yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. And I think again, those are the kind of conversations that you can have with people on LinkedIn. And it's funny because sometimes we kind of think they all have to be within a business focus, but I have like sideline conversations with people who are colleagues. We're just talking about things going on in our lives. We'll sometimes meet for a cocktail on Zoom. Yeah. You can do different things. You're meeting with people like from all over the world at all different times. It's their bedtime, it's your morning. They're drinking, tea to go to bed, and you're drinking coffee in the morning. Like it's wonderful that we can do this. So the conversations. So I love talking about concerts and stuff like that. That's very, very cool. That's very, very cool.
And I have worked with people, and my business is just a little over 2 years old. I have worked with people in Ireland. I have worked with people in Brazil. I have had conversations with people in India. I've had conversations with people in Australia. And honestly, Gillian, I think that's really awesome because I have never physically been to Brazil. I have never physically visited Australia. But via the power of LinkedIn and via the power of video and via the power of Zoom, I can then have those real life conversations that who knew 20, 30 years ago, you wouldn't be able to do that. So that's pretty awesome for me.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Gail, hello everyone. So again, I believe Gail, I'm thinking she's in Trinidad. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have just made up an assumption. But again, the power of this goes beyond the United States. We have people from all over the world that join us on these LinkedIn lives. So all of a sudden somebody's in India, somebody's coming in from New Zealand. It's kind of early there, from Europe, from England. It's just, look at Niraj. She's in Ireland. So it's like, it is great that we have that. So thank you for joining us today, Gail. We have Jihan, who is, hi, Gillian, Whitney, Deanna Russo et al. So she's just always bright and smiley coming into us from Texas. Here is our common friend who introduced us, which was Arnett Richmond. And she actually invited us both to come on Clubhouse once, and we talked. Yes. And it was a great opportunity. And I'll tell you, I'll just read her comment. So excited to see Gillian, Whitney, and Deanna Russo together, you two. Woohoo! It is lovely. So here is my comment from when we were doing that Clubhouse room, because I thought you made a really good comment. There was a woman that came in and she was talking about her profile picture and not wanting, because I think you had made a comment, either you or Annette had made a comment about it should be current. It really shouldn't be from 15 or 20 years ago. No. And I think I remember the woman saying she had gray hair, and didn't want to put what she really looked like. And she was hunting for a job. And I believe that you responded and said, you're going to show up at the interview who you are now. So be who you are all the way through. If that's a filter, for someone, like if somebody comes to your profile and says Buffalo Bills fan, can't be with her.
I'm telling you, I probably alienate so many Patriots fans and Cowboys fans from that Bills fan, but I'm like, heck with it. It's going on there.
But at the end of the day, we really can't be for everyone. And if we try to be for everyone, we're for nobody. We're just like the blank head. Like, why even put up a profile? We might as well just be this blank head on LinkedIn. So I really admired your answer to her of like, just be yourself, just put your picture. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And honestly, I told someone earlier today the exact same thing. She's a job seeker, and she was telling me about how she doesn't want to retake her profile picture because she's expecting this summer, and she's like, I'll just wait. And I'm like, but the way you are now, you're beautiful, and you're talking to me right now. And why not take a picture of and showcase what you're all about rather than putting it off? There always will be some reason to put off something. And I feel like the way I treat LinkedIn is the exact same way I treat my workouts, my exercise routine. I could find a reason not to do it. I could find a reason not to step up and to start that new program I started today, but I did it and I showed up. And that's where I feel like LinkedIn is very similar to that, because you could find an excuse not to do it. You could say you're too busy. Honestly, Gillian, I have kids that are in virtually every single activity you can imagine, and I'm still showing up. And I was thinking that might be a post, that if I can literally juggle everything that I'm currently juggling and still have a LinkedIn presence, anybody can. But yeah, I think the more excuses you make, the more reasons you're going to give yourself for not showing up. And then you're going to lose out on potential opportunities.
Absolutely. And you know what? Show up with whoever you are. You know, it doesn't matter if you're waiting to get a haircut, you're waiting to lose 10 pounds, you're waiting to get a tan. You know, these are just like, they're just excuses. Just start off. And you know what? You can change those pictures in a snap. You know, it's not a big deal. So it's like one day I just got on. I think I actually was going to have Nigel Cliff come on, and we were talking about LinkedIn Credible. And I looked at my profile picture and I went, I don't know if sunglasses is credibility. All of a sudden, it just snapped in me, even though I loved that picture. It was my happy place and it had become my brand. But then I just went, but you know what? We can't see my eyes. And if you can't see my eyes, maybe you're not really going to know that I'm an honest, trustworthy person. So I changed my picture. And it took a second. It takes a second. And I could go change my picture tomorrow when all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I've got pink hair or something like that.
Nothing is set in stone. It's not like you're writing a book and it goes to print and that's it. It's gone. You can change things at any time. And when you change things, you might see an uptick in the other parts of the triangle. You might have, if you showcase yourself in your about section, and then something that you write in that about section causes you to post and gives you a seed to plant for your next piece of content, even better. Then you're drawing the similarity between the two, and you're showcasing yourself here, and then you're putting out a piece of content here. So
I love it. Yeah. And it's, and Jeff says, love the triangle. Amazing how much of life relates to things that come in threes. I grew up on Schoolhouse Rock, you know, 3 is a magic number. And it's so true. And it's funny, when I was thinking, when you were describing the triangle, I also thought of a 3-legged stool, that it's like, you know, the balance of the 3 legs coming together to support you is everything. And if you took one, it would topple. And it's that same idea that like 3 comes into everything. And like you said, you've got to keep them all in balance. So you don't stop engaging, you don't stop creating content, and you don't stop continuing to update your profile. And, you know, because at the end of the day, your profile is so important. Number one, if I am going to connect with you and you don't send me a message, I'm going to go look at your profile. And I do judge people by their profile. I hate to say it, might sound mean, but if I look at your profile, I had somebody today that was their job was self-employed at self-employed. That was what they did. And they had a profile with nothing on it. I stop there because it's like,
That was
you're
it.
not a good fit for me. You're not a
Yep.
good fit for me. So, and they
And
didn't
the
post
truth
content.
here is that you could be self-employed. You could be a business owner, but when you're thinking about LinkedIn and you're thinking of the 830 million people who are on LinkedIn, if you were to take business owner and put it in the search box at the top, I can guarantee you there are millions of people that are using those exact two words. But how many people are landscaper, a part that sets apart your front landscaping apart from the rest? You know, it is about turning it into an active. What is the active verb? What is the active way of talking about what I do and how I help my clients? That's
Right.
See, and there's the free piece. And also, when we're talking about commenting, Gillian, too many people just go to their feed and they're scrolling and they don't see anything worth commenting. So they're like, well, I don't know how to do it, so I'm just not going to bother commenting. And then if I go to that person's profile and I see that that person hasn't engaged, and I see that that person hasn't posted content, then I'm less likely to want to connect or to follow. Whereas if I see that the person is trying to make the effort to have conversations, or I see that there's a piece of content and they're really trying, if there is I'm thinking I'm dropping on the word, but if there is an effort, if I see the effort, it's the same thing a teacher can say. I'm seeing that Johnny in the front row is making the effort.
Yeah.
Then I'm likely to connect or to follow. So
that's true. And that's true. And as for your triangle, if I was to go to somebody's profile and they were at least doing one of the three, so whether they had a profile, but they hadn't necessarily done any activity yet, maybe they're new, you know, and you just feel, okay, they've put in the effort to make a good profile, or maybe their profile is a little blank and iffy, but you see that they are engaging, they're commenting, and they're good quality comments. That's another tick. Or you see that their content is good, they just haven't mastered the other two. So sometimes, you know, even just doing one out of three, like you said, it's showing that you have potential, that you're directing your attention. Because if I just see you're self-employed at a company that you're calling self-employed, I think to myself, I think you're a bot, because I don't see any I don't see content and I don't see comments. So I think you're a bot.
Yep. And there's a lot of them out there. And while LinkedIn is working on it, there's still a lot of them out there. So we really, those of us who are using the platform regularly are more apt to not connect, because that's a red flag.
Exactly. Jeff's going, me a geek? Yes. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Oh, Gail, thank you for correcting me. She's from Barbados. Oh, that just sounds so exotic. That sounds so we're coming, Gail. Get lunch ready. We're coming. And so, okay, so here's a great example, and we're here to help. So when you show up as LinkedIn user, Jeff's going to help, because Jeff always helps in the comments. It's because you have a setting that's not showing up publicly. And so you show up as this blank head, but on LinkedIn, you're probably perfectly fine, but your settings are shut down for LinkedIn Live. So I know Jeff, he's going to be on it and show you what you need to do, because it's so important, because this is visibility. Coming to these lives is visibility too. From Barcelona. Yay!
Wow.
We love it. Yes, absolutely, Donna. Thank you for being here. It's okay, Deanna. I'm a Cowboys fan and I love you anyways. I love that. Okay, so we're coming up on the 30-minute mark, and I don't want to keep you overtime, especially when you're not feeling well. And we do try to keep these to 30 minutes. So, Deanna, what's your takeaway? What's your parting words for us on the topic of standing out?
I think let's go back to something that you said. Whereas I teach that triangle and there is a connection between all three, even if you're making the effort in one piece, it means that there's potential to grow in the other two.
Love it.
That should be a takeaway.
I love it. I love it. That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Okay, so we'll sign off now, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, Deanna, and we'll see you all next week for another LinkedIn Live. Bye, everybody.